Hello and welcome to 10 Ways to Safeguard Your Child from Sexual Abuse. My mission is to expose predators by giving them no child to molest, sexually assault, manipulate, or harm. My name is Resurrection Graves. I am the author of Identity Crisis. Identity Christ is a Journey to Love. It is a memoir about my life. It talks about some things that I have gone through and how I was able to overcome sexual abuse at the hands of people who were related to me and family friends. My purpose for doing this is to produce parents who build character, confidence, and companies through communication with their children. Communication is so important for how our children are going to grow up, what they're going to learn, what they'll be exposed to, and what you will be able to inhibit for their future. So I'm going to talk about the 10 ways to safeguard your child from sexual abuse. And I pray that it is a blessing to you and that it is able to open your heart and your mind to some new ideals that will help your children to remain safe. And we'll also talk about some things that you can do in case your child has been exposed to sexual abuse. So we're going to talk about the first one, and it is the power and privilege of parenting. Anyone that knows me for more than 5 minutes knows how much I love my daughter. She is beautiful, she's hilarious, she's vibrant, you know, she's just, I call her my little chocolate drop, and I just love my daughter. And part of the reason that I love her so much is because I understand that she is a gift. I was pregnant at 14 years old, and I gave birth to my daughter at 15. I have one child. I've only been pregnant one time. And that's just my story. I just want to encourage you to know that you are given a gift. It is a calling. It's not just a passion you wake up and want to do. It is a calling because something is birthed on the inside of you, just like your entrepreneurial dreams, just like the other things that you are called. Some of you are called to ministry. Some of you are called to work with children, and it's something you can't shake. And so if that is what you are called to do, you can't live without it, right? So for me, helping you to understand the mindset of parenthood is to remember that we can't live without it. So in the 10 ways, I'm going to talk a lot about that relationship, communication, and how to get your relationship at home to a point where you all are close enough that if something was uncomfortable, they would tell you. And also close enough so that if they don't tell you, you feel it. Okay. So number 2, we're going to move on. How was that? Is that good? All right, good information. Number 2, I'm just going to call it planned and purposeful communication. Planned and purposeful communication is number 2. And we're still talking about parenting. You're probably wondering, we're talking about 10 ways to safeguard your child from sexual abuse. Why do we keep talking about parenting so much? Well, who is the primary care provider? The parent. You know, everywhere your child is supposed to be, everywhere that they are not supposed to be, you know, all the intricate details of them. It is an intimate relationship that you don't have to find. It's something that's given to you, right? So in planned and purposeful communication, I want to just mention something really quickly: how to develop and maintain powerful communication with your child. One way to do that is, and I started very, very young, I am mommy, but I hear some people say that they can't be their child's friend, and that's just not true, okay? So one of the ways to develop and maintain a positive and purposeful communication relationship with your child is to listen. To listen without comment. Involving them in who you are and what you do. as they get older, not separating them from your gifts. When they see your gifts, then they are inspired to have their own and to walk in them. And that can start very young, you know, because they're proud of mommy. They're proud of daddy, right? So developing that communication even on up to teenage years, when you get to a place where your children are in school and they're coming home and you're on a cell phone in the car, or you are preoccupied with other things and you're not giving them the time and the space to build a friendship with you, then they turn to someone else. So what we want to talk about today is how you just listen. What I want to stress is leaving time open for communication. So my daughter, she would come home from school and talk to me for like an hour every day, hour straight. And she knows who's calling. If my phone rings, she says, don't answer. You know, she's very serious about her time. And I realized that when I give her the time that she's asking for, she leaves me alone. So I would listen for an hour, hour and a half, and then you know what happened after I started listening? She realized she told me the whole story, right? So then she says, well, Mommy, what do you think? Open door. And I speak without judgment. I speak without, you know, any kind of total conclusion. I leave the door open. I say, okay, well, if this situation is happening, what do you think the best ways would be to handle it and why? We talk about all of it. And then at the end, I say, okay, well, here's what I would suggest. The second part of number 2, which is planned and purposeful communication, is how to stay in touch with your child. So as a teenager, how do you stay in touch with your child? Because now, you know, my daughter's 15 and, you know, she has a boyfriend. Which child doesn't? But it's a difference when your mama says, okay, I don't approve of you having a boyfriend. You're not going to have a dating relationship, okay? However, we will compromise. If you're going to have a relationship, let me teach you how to have a healthy one, okay? So now when they have little rifts, because they do, because they're teenagers, she said, Mom, this is what happened. And it's just, you know. And she's upset or frustrated. And I say, okay, well, let's talk about it. So it's another way to teach communication, build relationship with my daughter, you know. And now they all love me. So planned and purposeful communication is really just knowing exactly what it is that you're going to teach. It is understanding that you are a parent and so you guide and that kind of thing, but it's not waiting for it to come to you. It's actually being proactive and kind of seeing, you've already been through it because we were all children once. So seeing it in advance and being able to serve your children in that capacity. Let's go to number 3, which is a big topic lately. It's called the power of saying no. The power of saying no. How many people do you know stay on the phone past the time that they want to? And everyone laughs. You're on the phone, you're like, oh my God, I really have to go. And it's not anything against the person, but you have not allowed yourself the power to just say, you know what? I really got to go, so I'm going to call you later. Or not lie. Because some people say, I'll call you right back. And they know they're not going to call you back. And 3 weeks go by. I thought you was going to call me back. You know? So the power of saying no is basically my way of saying that we have to be strong enough to be who we are in all of its honesty. Okay? I believe, it is my belief, that if we're going to teach 10 ways to safeguard your child from sexual abuse, and one of those ways, number 3, being the power of saying no, in order to teach our children how to say no to discomfort or bad touch or a situation that can be vulnerable to them, right? No to manipulation, hurt, fear, pain. no to someone who's trying to, make them feel attractive, or those kinds of things that we'll talk about a little bit later as well. In order to do that, we have to know how to say no. Because when we have children, what do? They do what we do. Their actions will follow us. Because if we don't, as adults, understand how to say no, then we compromise who we are, and our children see that. And then they're in vulnerable situations where they say yes to things that they don't necessarily want to, okay? So it's a protective mechanism. The more honest you are, the more honest your children will be. And I'm not going to stay on that topic too much longer, but I want to just give you one way of teaching your child to say no. One way to teach them to say no, not only by your actions, but also having conversations with them about the emotions of no. So let's go there for a second. If their teacher tells them, no, you can't have this pencil, their teacher can tell them that. So giving them the right relationship with no. But Tommy coming over and snatching their pencil off of their desk, they have the right to say no, okay? We have to make them understand, or teach them how to understand the emotional aspects of what saying no means, what it is, the effects of saying no, what could have them prepared. So the power of saying no is powerful because it allows you to continue to be who you are without compromising. Okay, so let's move right along. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 is value. So what should your child know about themselves? That as we learn to identify ourselves in a more spiritual way, identifying with that part of us that is so valuable, priceless even, then we can convey that to our children as well. So just knowing what God has called you to do, who you are, and really taking time to spend with the spiritual side of you, you can convey that to your children, and it will change their life, okay? So that's number 4. Number 5 is going to be very easy, okay? It's called playtime. Does anybody remember playtime when you were younger? So I want you to help me out because I don't remember all the names of the games. I know we played house. We played hide and seek, and then when we got older, it was called what? Hide and go get it. Hide and go get it. Was there anything else?
Mother May I?
Mother May I. And what did some of those games turn into? They were innocent games. They were supposed to be like hopscotch. And then how we ended up behind a tree, I'm just trying to understand. And what I've learned now that I'm a mother and I've paid attention to other people's children as well as my own is that they learn the patty cake, not patty cake, but the other games. You'd have to help me out. But some of the other games they learn, and we didn't teach it to them. Where did they learn this from? It's almost like it just came out of them. So with playtime, I'm going to be very, very specific. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just going to let it roll off my tongue, okay? We're going to talk about how, where, when, and how often your children should play with others. So how they should play, I think that it would be extremely important that we teach them how to play. Your 5-year-old should not be playing house. That might be a matter of opinion. They have no reason to be playing house. They have no idea when they're going to get married. Not everybody's even called to marriage. And when they get 20, they may not even want to get married. So emulating something that adults are involved in is actually detrimental because it makes them think about things that they should not be thinking about at that age. It goes back to us being parents and providing guidance and leadership and having to know how to teach our children values, right? And so playtime, no house. Come up with some different things that you talk to them about what's appropriate for playing, okay? In house, you get under a tent or, you make, put some boxes together, you know what I mean? You flip the playpen over. And one of the things that, I have to stress is that parents often will walk away or send their kids in the other room when they have company. They don't actually watch their children as they're playing. So you teach them how to play, but then other kids come over who don't know how to play, and it brings your child right on in. And so you have to be able to make sure that it's a point that you watch your children as they play. All right, so we talked about how to play. Come up with some things, and you can even create games in your home that you feel are appropriate for your children to play. And then talk to them about what playing risky is like. Talk to them about good touch, bad touch, healthy, unhealthy touch. Talk to them about, someone being too close to them, touching them in different places, that kind of thing. Have that open conversation, and then know your child, because it may be, I heard Oprah, I've heard different people say, and I can even attest to this even in my book, that when I was molested at 4 years old, it didn't feel bad. I knew it was wrong for a grown man to put his tongue down my throat as if I was a grown woman, right? It completely put me in an identity crisis because for some reason I felt older than I actually was. We are on number 6, and I just simply call it processing people. So processing people. Trusting family and history of behaviors. Very self-explanatory, very easy to understand. What we're basically saying is that there are people in your family that may not be able to be trusted for whatever reason. There may be people in your family that have been deviant in their behavior, okay? Now we know that people grow, people overcome. That's not what we're talking about today. What we're really talking about today is, as a parent, making a decision for who should watch your child. Another thing that we should be concerned about is sexual abuse, because there's a large number of people, there's actually 90% of sexual abuse happens by family member, someone who has formed a close relationship with the family. So that means family member, babysitters, grandparents, friends of a friend. So I'm not going to stay on number 6. Just trust yourself. Know that you have an intuitive nature. You have a right as a parent to be a leader and to provide guidance. You have the power to say no. You and your child are valuable and are valued. And you are able to determine who should be taking care of your children or where your children should be spending time. Okay? So let's move right along. We're going to go to number 7. I kind of call this one, I wanted something to rhyme. So we call number 7 pitch or snitch. Pitch or snitch. Pitch meaning toss it out, or snitch meaning tell everyone. Okay? So I'm charging everyone today to tell everyone. You can toss it out, you can pretend like it didn't happen, or you can snitch and save lives. There's a lot of emotional damage that happens to people who experience sexual abuse and who experience different types of child abuse. Molestation, sexual assault, whatever you want to call it, however it's done, or whatever the experience is, there's a lot of psychological things that people encounter as